Welcome to the Two-Way Street podcast with Rick Harris of Work Boot Consulting and Rob Berry of St. Louis Bath and Renovations. Our aim is to bridge the gap between contractors and consumers. Remember, communication is always a two-way street.
Hey folks, welcome to the Two-Way Street podcast. I'm Rick Harris of Work Boot Consulting with my good friend, Rob Berry of St. Louis Bath and Renovation. So, Rob, what did you want to talk about today?
Everybody that's watching, thanks for joining with us. And normally when Rick and I have a podcast and we have a little show prep and we don't plot out the whole thing, but I'd say we have a little outline of things that we want to cover. And today, Rick asked me as we were preparing for the show, he asked me, what do you want to talk about? And I didn't tell him. So you guys are going to see his reaction. And this is not something that he's going to bounce off the wall about, but I want to get his reaction. And I want to have this be a thought experiment. And I want you guys to follow along with us, but I want you to think about what we're going to talk about today, if you would, please. And just consider it. You may totally disagree, but that's okay. Today here in America is Thanksgiving. And the tradition of Thanksgiving was to give thanks to God for the blessings that he's provided. Not only that started with the blessing of America and it being founded and all of that to where we are today. Just most people in America are rich by the world standard. So I want to give thanks. And I also want to talk about either, I don't know if it's the flip side of the coin, not the opposite, but if it's certainly a companion to thankfulness. And I think it's encouragement. I think you can't have one without the other. So I wanted to present that to Rick and see what he thought. And we're going to bounce that back and forth. And hopefully you guys will come along on the ride with us. Thankfulness and encouragement. What do you think? Can you have one without the other?
Thankfulness and encouragement. So I run or facilitate meetings in a group format. And so one of the things that we do during these meetings is if somebody proposes bring tables an issue that they have with their business, the rest of us are to ask questions. So I get the thankfulness part of it, but what do you mean by encouragement?
Great question. So I think you can't be an encourager if you're not thankful. And I don't think you can be thankful if you can't possibly encourage. So if I can't tell Rick how much I appreciate him and encourage him to go see anything, let's say that he's at neutral, right? He's not a negative guy and he's not a positive guy. If I encourage Rick, I love the way you approach business. I love the way you part your hair. Anything that's true and honest, give that person some encouragement. I think that's going to encourage them to be thankful for what they have. Because if they can receive that compliment, they can receive that encouragement, then I think that's going to continue to push them in the right way. And again, we're working through this. I did not plan this. I like this idea of being thankful. But I think as an American male, I am not seeing much encouragement coming from men to men, or certainly towards men in general. I think for the last 40 years, if you watch a sitcom, who is the dumb guy on the show? Who was the whipping boy? Who was the butt of the joke? It was the dad. And a lot of that stuff is super funny, but man, I think we could take a step back and say the dad's not always the idiot. No. He may not mind putting his foot in his mouth. He may not mind getting cuts and bruises. But without men in our society, without the ditch diggers, without the linesmen, without the construction workers, without the plumbers, without all of those things, we don't have society. I'm not saying the world revolves around men. Western society doesn't revolve around men. I think it takes both. I'm saying I don't see a lot of encouragement coming from or towards men. And I think that if my old preacher used to say, if it's going to be, it starts with me, right? If it's going to be, it starts with me. If you see something that needs changed, don't ask somebody else to change it. You change it. So I'm going to encourage where I see the need and in truth, not BSing, not lying to people,
I get it.
but really putting my best foot forward and pushing out the negative thoughts, whether those be true or not,
Yep.
to find a positive thing, a positive foothold in what we're talking about. So we're up here at the 30,000-foot view. We're talking about platitudes, talking about bigger ideas, and we'll whittle those down into small, tangible, graspable things. But I think if you can't encourage somebody, I think you're also not very thankful. Let's say it that way. Maybe that's easier to grasp.
Which makes sense. I get that, and I think we're on the same page here. So let me kind of see if I can unscramble my brain and kind of
I
lay it
sprung it
out.
all on you. You couldn't prepare for this.
No. I love it. So we talked before about the gratitude. You know, somebody giving you a compliment as a gift, take it in, and literally put your hand to chest. Thank you. Put it to your heart. So I'm wondering, you know, if you don't have that encouragement, you know, then you don't have that thankfulness, which means you're missing gratitude, which may mean your cup is empty, perhaps because you have not learned how to fill your cup, nor have you learned how to fill somebody else's cup, but only after your cup has been filled.
That's right. And I think what you just said there, we could probably end the podcast right there. You've got to know how to recharge your batteries. If your cup is empty,
right,
you've got to be the first one to recognize that it's empty. Your customers can't fill that. They could hand you $1 million contract tomorrow, but that's not going to fill it. You could win lottery tomorrow, but brother, if your cup's empty, that you've got to be the one to recognize that it's empty and to put yourself in those situations where you can turn on the spigot that fills that cup back up.
Right, and it was, I forget who said it. You know, if you're not happy poor, you're not going to be happy rich. It's just not the way it is. And the whole, you know, giving freely of encouragement. You know, and it's interesting. I had this discussion with a group of contractors last night that, you know, I always wanted to get my fellow contractors in the same room back when I was a contractor and a business owner. And they looked at me like I had three heads. Like, why would I want to hang out with you? Because these are the same. And I don't know whether it's because primarily, like, it's still to this day, primarily the vast majority of contractors or trades business owners are males. So I don't know whether it's a guy thing. Guys are not very good at sharing. They're not. You know, hey, what's going on with you with your life? Oh, great, man. You know, punch you in the back. You know, tough it out. Things be great. I wanted to be around other contractors that were open and honest. Like, how do you do this? Because I don't know. Can you help me? And back to, I wanted to I wanted to receive encouragement and give encouragement, I guess is what I'm saying. And which is interesting because I never really thought of it that way. That's what I was trying to do. I was lost and I needed somebody, I needed a life preserver. And I was looking at other contractors, not to pull them down, but to say, hey, can we lift each other up? Which comes from and at that time I didn't have the gratitude. You know, I didn't. I wanted encouragement if I wasn't receiving encouragement. And if you have that, if you can, what is the saying? A rising tide lifts all ships.
A rising tide raises all boats. That's right.
Right. So, and this is where there is nothing wrong with hanging out with the contractors who do the exact same thing in the exact same area as you do, because maybe the people they serve are not the people that you serve. Not because of anything other than demographic, geographic, psychographic. So the type of work you do is not the type of work that, you know, somebody else does. But there's not that abundance mindset, obviously, if they're not willing to hang out and share secrets. Why would you not want to encourage somebody else and be thankful for where the position that you're in life? I mean, you look at North Americans. I mean, we have riches that the vast majority of the world does not have. You know,
Yeah, completely. How many winter coats do you have? I guarantee you've got 4 or 5.
oh, coats, boots, shirts, like really. And the reality is
Yeah,
how
just
many of
coats,
the,
right? Yeah,
I mean, just look behind me at all the crazy stuff I have.
yeah.
Oh, there's sports cards and anyhow. So how often are we not grateful for the things that we have, and how often do we not encourage others to come to where we are, which is mentorship? You know, how do we raise others? How do we mentor others? And how do we become mentees of other people who have gifts to give us that we refuse to take? And how
I think you
often do
said
we
it.
not? Yeah.
I think you said it right there. It's if we. Oh, I lost you. Sorry, or did I?
No, you're here.
No. Okay, I hit a button. You said it. You said it right there. If we can't encourage one another, if we can't be thankful for what we have, if we can't encourage one another, then what have you? I hopefully this fits. A good lesson that I learned on that was my old preacher that I like to talk about. He said one time, I'll never forget. He said, if you've hit rock bottom, if you do not see, if it's as bleak as it could possibly be in your life, in your opinion, if it's if there's no way out, he said, I want you to go find someone in your opinion that
Mm.
has it worse off than you do.
Mm.
I want you to help them. And I knew what he was talking about, not because I had heard that before, but he broke it down so eloquently. It resonated instantly. If I've got so many problems that everything's just black as could be, if I go help somebody else out, what am I doing? Taking my mind off of me, off of selfish Rob, and putting my energy towards someone else, even if it's just handing them $1 or cooking them a 10-course meal. I'm not thinking about me anymore. I'm of service to someone else. And I tell you what, that in responsibility, in thankfulness and encouragement, that's where true purpose is found. And that's what he was talking about.
And it makes sense. And so I trained with John Maxwell, not specifically John Maxwell, but through his organization, I had some training. And one of the things that John Maxwell, Papa John, always talked about is his goal is to every day do something for somebody that they are not capable of doing for themselves, whatever that is.
It's so good.
So so when you think about the things that you can do, there are so many gifts that you can give, and encouragement is one of them. Currently, I have somebody doing some work in my house, and she's doing some painting, and she is very clear on how her business should be run, and I completely admire her. She said, "This is what I do. This is what I want," and great, perfect. But she asked me a question about something, and I said, far too often we are afraid to say no. No to this type of client, no to doing work for another contractor and that sort of thing. So we're still talking about contractors and consumers. And I said, why don't you try saying no? So and I
Consider
left
me.
it and I left it at that. She was talking to my wife and she said, you have no idea what a gift that was for me. I said, really? And so she went on to say that she said to my wife, she said, I was so afraid of saying no to people that I would offend them. But I was saying it was holding me back from doing the things that I wanted to do. And she said it was such a gift. So sometimes we give and we give encouragement without gifts because it's become so ingrained in us that that's who we are that it becomes second nature. But I think there are times when you need to be aware of what it is you're doing. Do I need to help this person? Do I need to lift them up? Do I need to help raise their boat? And in doing so, like Zig Ziglar said, you help others get what they want. It will help you get what you want.
Yeah, I love that quote.
Yeah,
You can have anything in this world that you want. You just have to help enough people get what they want first.
yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree with that. And yeah, gratitude and encouragement, we all need it. Um, because there are sometimes when, as a contractor, you are so lost and downtrodden that you just don't feel the gratitude, which means your cup is empty, so you need to find somebody who can fill your cup and encourage them and then pay it forward.
That's right. You can't give what you don't have. So,
You know,
how can where's the rubber meet the road today? How can we make this relevant to our potential consumers that are listening today or contractors that are listening today? Contractors that are thinking about, hey, Rob, I like the way you run your business, or Rick, how can I run my business better? Contractors where you are today, consumers where you are today, what could you guys be thankful for encouraging towards the other? Rick, what do you think about that?
well, if you're a football fan, you'll be thankful that you're not a fan of the Chicago Bears.
They're not doing so well this year.
Currently, they are not. Um, as a contractor, you have an obligation to the other contractors that are willing to hear your message. So this is where, take the time to talk to another contractor, ask them, be open and honest with them, about what's going on in your business, because you never know what that other individual is going through. So that could be somebody that you encourage or somebody that you could receive encouragement from, because that person could be doing extremely well in one area of their business and you could learn from them. So be grateful for what you have. And if you need encouragement, seek encouragement. If you can give encouragement, but just be aware of it. From a consumer's perspective, please stop looking at contractors as the enemy, the adversary. The vast majority of contractors out there and trades business owners are just regular salt of the earth people. They really are. The ones who are not, the universe, the ether will eventually take care of them. The ones who are out there doing things that are untoward, other contractors do not like them. Be grateful. I mean, it's funny. It sounds weird to say, but be grateful that that contractor has shown up. Give them some.
And everybody that's had a contractor not show up is laughing right now with us because even us good contractors, we know the bad contractors too, or certainly we used to know them or we know of them now. We hear the horror stories.
Yeah, I mean, it's just man, oh man, oh man. I mean, if I didn't have, and God bless the consumers out there, because there are people out there who are so determined and have such faith in the individuals that have called. It's like, sooner or later they're going to call me, or sooner or later they will show up. So God bless the consumers out there trying to deal with the contractors like that. But they may be good. The whole thing is they may be very good at doing their business, but the communication process is horrific. And if you can get past that, God bless you. But give the contractors feedback, positive and negative. And as a contractor, be grateful for that feedback. So I would not be afraid to tell a contractor, like, hey, you're really stressing me out by not telling me when you're showing up. Giving me an 8-hour window, and I've had it happen to me. I will probably be by around. Well, that really is not that stresses people out.
Boy,
Tell them,
there's an entire podcast episode right there about showing up at the exact same time every day if you get a multiple day job, and never
yep,
use the words maybe or possibly or or probably unless you can give them an answer. Matter of fact, I texted Rick earlier. I had the word probably in there, but I knew I did that specifically because I was working on something, and then 10 minutes later I told him, I gave him a definitive. Never give the probably or the maybe. Yes, I can do it. No, I can't. Let that be it.
yeah, yeah, and you and I were okay that way. But there's something called, the voice of the consumer when it comes to business, and that's all part of Lean and Six Sigma. So the voice of the consumer you need to listen to, and as a consumer, don't underestimate the power of your voice. You know, if they're asking for your opinion, and it is a genuine opinion that they're looking for, how can we get better? Even to the point where if somebody has given you an estimate and a quote or whatever it is for a project, and you are declining service, give them the gift of why you are declining the service. Give them that feedback. Say, hey, you took too long to get to me. You weren't this, you weren't that. Or tell them, look, I really think you're an amazing individual. I just felt more aligned with this other person. Or you're too high, you're too low, whatever it is. Give them that feedback. Somebody who has the right mindset will take that in. They will not be offended for it. I always ask my clients when I didn't get a job or my leads, hey, would you mind telling me why? I will not be offended. It helps me be a better contractor, a better business owner. Please let me know. And as a consumer, don't be afraid to let them know what they do well, and let them know where they're falling a little bit short. You know why we chose you, because we always want to tell people why we did this, but you're not telling people why we didn't, which could be a whole other podcast about saying no, because okay, this is just really quickly about the yes and the no. If somebody says to you, hey, Rob, do you want to go to the movies? And you say yes, so they say, well, why do you want to go to the movies? And you would think I was completely insane. But if I say no, you say no, I
Right.
kind of beat you up until you say and tell me why. So I I think there needs to really be that give and take between contractors and consumers about that feedback, and it was great. I love this, the gratitude and the encouragement, because encouraging a contractor to keep going. You're close, but you're not quite there, and to say to a homeowner, look, I really appreciate you calling me, but we can't do that type of work, or this isn't the type of things we do, or we don't have the capacity, or you're not exactly the type of people that we want to work with. Whatever it is, don't sugarcoat it. Be honest with them. So hopefully that made sense.
I think it was great. I
Okay.
think you know, there's certainly a few specific scenarios that you gave there, but there was 4 or 5 different podcasts in there that we could talk about
Oh yeah.
that was great. But consumers, if you see something good in your contractor, let them know, hey, I liked what you did there, or hey, that other thing you started on, can we do that a different way? Or hey, I hated that. Somewhere in between that.
Oh yeah.
Figure that out. Tell them because they're working on
Mhm.
your house. You're after you pay the bill, you're stuck with it. So try to get what you want if things are unclear. The contractors, remember to approach your client as if you love them, as if you've watched our previous podcast, as if this is family that you're working for, as if you're going to see them again.
Mhm.
And if the consumer does something that was off that you guys didn't agree to, or as the job progresses, things are going like you think that they're going awry. Hey, Mrs. Smith, we need to sit down for a minute. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page before we continue any further. Something like that. The ability of saying no, like what Rick was talking about earlier, that's as a business owner, that's probably one of the most powerful things that I've learned is the use of the word no. And I'm sure that sounds silly, but when you stay in your lane, when you say no, when you see something's not lining up with how you do things, or it's just simply something that you don't do, hey, they want McDonald's, but they're asking for, they want to pay for McDonald's, but they're asking for crab legs. Those two just don't jive. You got to figure those out. Yeah, I thought that was great stuff, Rick. I thought that was great stuff.
Yeah.
We can definitely pull a few episodes out of that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's a two-way street podcast, and as a Canadian to an American, happy Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving.
Tell everybody else what you told me. It's Thanksgiving here, but it's what?
Happy American Thanksgiving, or as we say in Canada, Thursday. Canadians we have our Thanksgiving quite early. It's October is when we have it, before Halloween, and yeah, it's just weird. It kind of spread out the holidays a little bit. But so if we look at it this way, if a Canadian can get along with an American, and we can have those conversations in the two-way street and understand your politics and our politics and all the crazy stuff that goes around it, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, conservative, liberal, or up here, New Democrat, Green Party, whatever it is. It's all about communication and trying to understand each other a little bit better. So this is what this is all about.
As we were being honest, I can barely put up with my Canadian friend Rick here. I can just barely stand him. I don't know how I do it, but pat myself on the back. No, you're right. We got to find common ground. Things are always a two-way, unless it's life or death. It's always a two-way street for communication. I think there's a lot of gray, and I think most people operate in the gray, and we will definitely talk about that in another podcast about more specifics. If you guys have comments on what we've spoken about today, comments, questions, whatever, tell us the good, the bad. Hey, we like what you did there, or hey, you confused us when you said this other stuff. Whatever, we're big boys. We can take that improvement. We want to know what you guys want to hear about. We want to give you that type of content. But again, we're trying to focus this on personal relationships, our relationships between contractors and contractors to the consumers, and vice versa. So we are hopeful that this will land and it'll resonate with you. We are thankful for you, and we want to encourage you to continue watching as more episodes come forth. Rick, you got any final words for us?
Yeah, shout out to our number one fan, Logan of Campro Plumbing up in Orillia, Ontario, who is the best plumber in Orillia. He listened to all of the podcasts so far. I think at the time we listened, we had 4. We're up to about 6 now. And he said they're great. They're amazing. So Logan of Campro Plumbing, if you're in Orillia, Ontario, if you're looking for the best plumber in Orillia, Ontario, make sure you give Logan at Campro Plumbing a call. And maybe he'll want to sponsor us. I don't really know.
That's fantastic. And as the show grows, we are going to have sponsorships, but we are not just going to have sponsorships like, hey, we're selling the newest iPhone or buy this new frying pan. No. Things that we use or believe in, or things that are can be relationally based to what we do, either through construction or through business building, somewhere in there. But we will definitely have sponsorships, so there are spots available. Rick and I need to figure out how we're going to do that. But I'm thankful for my Canadian friend Rick. Thank you for the insight today. Thank you for the experience. It took a lot of successes and failures for you to be able to put that, 10, 15 minutes of conversation together. So I know that some of that was good, and some of that was painful, of those lessons that you learned, but we're thankful that you shared that with us.
Thanks, Rob. I appreciate you, and keep going.
Thanks, Rick.
Okay. Excellent. See ya.
To learn more about Rick, go to his website, workbootconsulting.com. And to learn more about Rob, go to his website, sdlbr.com. Until next time, work on bridging that gap. Remember, it's always a two-way street.